or visit lavote.gov. Once you fill out your mail-in ballot, you may drop it in any county election mailbox found outside places like libraries, or you could drop it off with a poll worker at any vote center. If you suspect election foul play, voter suppression or intimidation, or other irregularities, or if you need to know more about your rights, call the Election Protection Hotline at 1-866-OUR-VOTE. That's 866-687-8683 from any state. And if you need more information on specific candidates or propositions, check out our interviews and analysis on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, November 5th is the last day to vote, and the sooner we do it, the better. Helping you vote like your life depended on it, because it does. Your election information station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first,
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I refuse to accept the cynical notion that nation after nation must spiral down a militaristic stairway into the hell of nuclear annihilation. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. I believe that even amid today's mortar bursts and whining bullets, that is still hope for a brighter tomorrow. I believe that wounded justice, lying prostrate on the blood-flowing streets of our nations, can be lifted from this dust of shame to reign supreme among the children of men.
Good Lord, he had a way with words. He had a way with words. That, of course, was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Delivering his Nobel Peace Prize speech in Oslo, Norway, 60 years ago this December. On the top of hour two, we will talk to veteran journalist and anti-nuclear activist Harvey Wasserman about the existential threat of nuclear weapons, nuclear power, and the disproportionate impact on black communities amid the backdrop of this month's Nobel Peace Prize and Microsoft reopening the 3 Mile Island power plant. Hard to believe. 60 years since King gave that Nobel Peace Prize speech. We'll talk about it at the top of hour two. On the B side of hour two, a conversation with Representative Gabe Amo about efforts to make Hakeem Jeffries the first black Speaker of the House. In our third hour,
You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood. Sometimes you be in trouble. They might be around to help you. Tell your mama to tell you about that piano. Ask her how them pictures got on there. You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood.
Denzel Washington joins us at the top of hour 3 to talk about the screen adaptation of August Wilson's The Piano Lesson, which features nearly every member of his immediate family in some capacity: screenwriter, producer, exec producer, actor, actress, director. It is a Washington family affair, The Piano Lesson. Denzel's longtime producing partner Todd Black will also join us at the top of hour 3. As will the founding artistic director for the Ebony Repertory Theater, Ren T. Brown, who will share his thoughts on the enduring legacy of The Piano Lesson and the future of black theater. Conversation with D at the top today of hour 3. But in this first hour, when we come forward, 2 weeks to the day away from Election Day, it's Tuesday, we will talk politics with The Nation Magazine's national affairs correspondent John Nichols when we get this show underway in a moment.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
My name is Anton Moore. Around here, we have hardworking people that just need a break. Whether it's investing in small businesses or making housing affordable, Vice President Harris gets it.
Kamala Harris is making sure black men have the tools to build generational wealth. She'll put a policy in place that gives 1 million forgivable loans to help entrepreneurs, including black entrepreneurs, start their own businesses. She also plans to give $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homeowners and crack down on racial bias in home appraisals. Harris's plan will help black men own more assets so we can build long-term wealth.
This is what an investment in my community looks like. We're trying to build generational wealth. No get-rich-quick schemes, no scams, no one-time check, none of that. Vice President Harris got our back. I'll be there on November 5th. Will you be there?
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
You've got a Pepto predicament, moviegoer.
Hey, I can hear your stomach grumbling.
Sorry, I ate that entire tub of popcorn with extra butter.
You overdid it, and now your movie has turned into a blockbuster bellyache. Undo it with Pepto.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto Chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief, so you can focus on the action on the big screen instead of in your stomach. When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Watch out!
You got
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
All right, John Nichols, as you heard, I'm trying to squeeze an 80-pound show into a 40-pound bag today. Let's get this party started. How are you, my friend?
Well, I've been working out so we can squeeze in.
Let me start with the obvious. 2 weeks from today is November the 5th. Just broadly speaking, and we'll jump from there. How you feeling?
Oh, look, at a point like this, I always feel whipsawed, right? A little torn from one side to the other. And I see a lot of things that are very hopeful. Most of the anecdotal evidence is very, very favorable to Kamala Harris, and there's some even good signs coming out of the Senate races. By the same token, I am looking at polls, and I can't help myself, I do. And I'm seeing polls that are close, especially in some of the key battleground states. And I think we are at this 2-week point, and I'll tell you this very honestly, Tabs, I think we are at the point where this race at both the presidential and Senate level is ready to start to break in a bunch of ways. Where it breaks, I can't for sure tell you. But I doubt that we're going to end up with a super close result. These candidates have both kind of set up their messaging so strongly, one side and the other, that small portion of undecided voters, that bigger portion of voters who can be drawn into the process, are likely to go one way or the other, right? They're likely to boost somebody. And so we're going to watch very closely in these next 2 weeks where it's going to go. I'm going to throw two other things in your mix here just for the sake of it. First and foremost, I'm going in about an hour to see Barack Obama speaking in Madison, Wisconsin to launch the early voting. I think that's really smart on Harris's part. I have to tell you, I think she spent a little bit too much time with Liz Cheney and some of these Republicans, not enough time on the mobilization of the base. And so I'm glad to see Obama out there. I hope the Cheney campaign focuses in on, or what am I saying? The Harris campaign focuses in on that going forward. And then the final thing I'm going to throw in the mix on these Senate races, it's absolutely vital to be paying attention to what's happening with Colin Allred down in Texas. This representative who's taken on Ted Cruz is clearly closing the gap. And this is a great challenge for Democrats. They often don't catch up with it when one of their own is closing the gap at the end. If they get on top of this in the right way, I think there's a real chance Ted Cruz can get beat.
I promise you, I'll get to all three of those points that you've just made in this hour. Let me start with this. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. I think I did. Did I hear you say that in the end, based on the fact that something's going to break here in the next couple of weeks, did I hear you say correctly that in the end you do not think we're going to have a super close result?
That is exactly what I said. And
wow.
I'm going to stick to it strongly. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you.
Okay.
You look at races and you know this because you've been around. In 2004, the Kerry-Bush race was very close, right? And really competitive. And then at the end, whether we liked it or not, it broke toward Bush. And he came out with, contested results in Ohio and some places, but he took that presidency. Again, 2012, the Obama-Romney race got very close. There was a point where people were really concerned that Romney was going to overtake Obama in that contest. And then at the end, it really broke toward Obama. And he actually had a pretty comfortable victory that helped some of the Senate candidates down ballot. And I think that's what we're looking at. I think pundits tend too often to dodge the reality, right? They're like, oh, it's going to be super close to the end. That's not. There are an awful lot of races that don't play that way. And I think a lot of the dynamics of this race suggest that one of these two candidates, and I guess I'll play my card here and say I think it's going to be Harris. One of these two candidates opens up a clear enough space that while Trump may still complain about it, the average American is going to look at it and say, yeah, there was a win there.
Yeah. From your mouth to God's ears, I've said all along, and I don't think you and I disagree on this. It would be nice to see Kamala Harris pull away with this and put some distance. How far away she pulls, who knows? But I'd appreciate having some distance only because it would make it more difficult for Donald Trump to prolong. He's never going to accept the outcome unless he wins clearly. But if he doesn't win clearly, then all sorts of shenanigans are going to get started, as you well know. The wider that lead is, the better we all are. Yes?
Yes, and let me throw one more thing into the mix. Because the Senate stuff I'm all over this Senate stuff because I think that there's a decent chance that Harris pulls this off.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a real fear, I think, for Harris folks that she gets the presidency, but it's a Republican Senate. That trips up her cabinet picks. That trips up her judicial picks. It's really problematic unless she wins by a comfortable enough space that maybe she helps a couple of these Democrats who are in potential spots to cross over. That's Colin Allred down in Texas as a real example. And then number two, even if it's like let's say it's a 51-49 Senate, the Republicans, they take Montana, they take West Virginia. To get that 51-49. But Harris has won by enough nationally that someone like Lisa Murkowski, a relatively moderate Republican out of Alaska, says, I am not going to participate in a Senate effort to undermine everything that this newly elected president does. And as such, crosses over on a bunch of important votes. So you understand what I'm saying? There's
No, I get it.
two dynamics here. Yeah.
No, I get it. To your Liz Cheney point, just walking through this list of things you said already, and then we'll jump. We'll go from there. I think you're right about Liz Cheney. Let me give you my read on this, and I'm curious to get your take. You're the first person I've talked to who's actually said this, but I agree. I think Kamala has spent far too much time with Liz Cheney. There's a story right now I'm looking at in the New York Times about Liz Cheney campaigning with Kamala Harris. And again, there's a big story there, and I've read a few pieces about this. But here's my read on this. I don't know what Kamala gets for campaigning with Liz Cheney all this time. I don't get it. And here's my point. It is not as if anybody who's going to vote for Kamala in the Democratic Party or on the left is doing so because of Liz Cheney, number one. Number one. And number two, ain't nobody on the right who can stand Liz Cheney. So nobody on the right is going to be, they're not going to change their mind because of Liz Cheney. What is the point of hanging out with Liz Cheney so much?
Oh, I tell you what the point is. The Democratic strategists, right, they looked at those 4 million, roughly 4 million, I think I'm right on that number, votes for Nikki Haley, especially in a lot of the battleground states. And they said to themselves, wow, if we can get those Nikki Haley voters, a substantial portion of them, that's going to give us a real boost because 4 million spread across the battleground states, not all in the battleground states, but in a number of them. Those are considerable numbers. And so they launched an effort on the Republicans, to really do this outreach. And some of it was very good. Some of it was like local elected officials, mayors, county commissioners stepping up saying, you know what, Kamala Harris is a better candidate. I'm going to support her. But that they got so into that. They got so excited about that. As the race got closer, the race got tougher, they didn't let it go. And so when they got this endorsement from Liz Cheney, they're like, oh, this is incredible. Let's go out and, appear with Liz Cheney, who with her father, former Vice President Dick Cheney, pretty much, made themselves the name of extreme right-wing neoconservative politics in this country, right? And they got pushed out, but that's who they are. And that's what a lot of people know. And so here's Kamala Harris out with Liz Cheney, out with, other Republicans all over the place week after week. And I don't fault that. I understand trying to get those Haley voters over. I respect that. But at a certain point, what you have to recognize is they've got the message, right? If there's anybody out there who's, waiting to be invited to come vote for Kamala Harris, the invitation has been issued, right? It's been done. It's been done again and again and again. Now, at the same time, what we hope is that for Democrats in the last, many cycles, the critical thing is the close And their close has to be a strong outreach to working class voters, multiracial, multi-ethnic. You got to get into those union halls.
Yeah.
You got to dig deeper. You got to spend time with Sean Thames and the UAW and with other folks, in the right places. 2, you got to get onto those campuses, even with Gaza, even with everything we've heard about. You got to get onto those campuses and do massive mobilization, massive messaging, right? Because those young people really matter. And then in this final stage, to be honest, Kamala Harris, she is running to be the first woman president of the United States, the second black president of the United States, a daughter of immigrants from India and Jamaica. There are so many communities that can and should be excited about this race, engaged with this race, and you just have to do massive mobilization there. If you do that massive mobilization, I think that's why I say to you that I think you could see a 2012 result, right? Like Obama had, where he won by a quite comfortable margin. But you're not going to get that by spending these next 2 weeks with Liz Cheney.
No, I agree. But here's where, let me just back up one more time. Here's where you lost me. I didn't want to interrupt you. I always love your analysis, but here's where you lost me, and here's where, frankly, the Harris campaign lost me on this particular issue. Let me say this loud and clear. Liz Cheney is not Nikki Haley.
No, you didn't. We're not lost, bro. We are in the same
Liz
place.
Cheney is not Nikki Haley. I still don't. I hear what they're saying, but I don't get why they think that the folk on the right who hate Liz Cheney would ever vote for Kamala because they make some comparison between, I'm a Nikki Haley supporter and I love Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney told me to vote for Kamala. They hate Liz Cheney. I mean, at some point, let's just keep it real. At some point, they were going in on Nikki Haley for being a traitor to Donald Trump. She was hitting Donald Trump too hard for some of the Trump sycophants. So I don't understand. Those dots don't connect for me. That you campaign with Liz Cheney because you're trying to get Haley supporters, it doesn't work. The math ain't mathing, as somebody said.
And I 1,000% agree with you. We're not lost from each other.
I'm just making sure.
Unfortunately, I'm here, my friend. I am here, my friend, telling you what's going on inside the head of Democratic strategy. Someplace that is
let me just say,
a place of wisdom.
That thinking is stuck on stupid. Liz Cheney,
I'm with you.
Liz Cheney is not going to get you Nikki Haley voters. It just ain't going to happen. So I digress on that.
She isn't even. No. Let me digress with you for one more second.
Okay.
Doing this isn't even going to get you the people who are traditionally Liz Cheney voters. Because a lot of people that remember Liz Cheney before 2020 was a really vile member of Congress.
Yeah.
Was saying and doing things that were as bad as what you hear from Trump on a host of issues.
Yeah.
And the people that liked her before, when she left Trump, they didn't go with her.
Yep. Nope, I got it.
You get it. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I know you're providing the analysis. I'm saying I hope John ain't drinking the Kool-Aid on this one because they are that strategy, as they say down. Speaking of Texas, they say that dog won't hunt. And every time I see Kamala step on stage with Liz Cheney, I'm like, what are we trying to do here? We're wasting time because I'm with you.
Yes.
You have to shore up your base. You have to mobilize your base. This election is going to be about turnout. And rather than spending time with Liz Cheney, I'd be talking to black voters. I'd be talking to young voters. I'd be talking to poor voters. But I would not be hanging out with Liz Cheney because that does not help me shore up my base and get the turnout I'm going to need on Election Day. And if anybody knows what happens when you don't shore up the base on Election Day, Hillary Clinton does, and we don't want to see that story repeated. It would be tragic. It would be tragic for Kamala to have raised all this money and had all this momentum and all this joy and all this energy, and then you end up losing because your base didn't turn out. That's what scares me, John.
Right. And look, I've covered an awful lot of politics, almost as much as you. And so I'm going to tell you, look, politics it's a great big machine that operates, all these sorts of moving parts, all these things going on. You got to maintain the machine. That's why in the old days they referred to, big city operations as political machines.
Sure.
And it isn't just one thing. It's not just a dynamic candidate. It's not just, grassroots mobilization. It's not just message. It's all these parts. And as you get close, and that's what we're talking about, this is what matters. We're in the last 2 weeks here. As you get close, the maintenance of that machine becomes very, very critical because you've got to make sure it is producing the right parts, right? It is, it's operating in the right way. And if you lose sight of that, right, if you just keep on the track you were on, you run the real risk of not issuing that invitation to the people you need. Now, I emphasize this, as I said, the Republicans have been invited. If they want to come, there's no question. They know they're welcome, right?
Yep.
But there are an awful lot of working class and poor folks who have been through a lot, who have experienced, COVID and everything that came after it. They may not like Trump at all. They may actually despise Trump, but they may be angry about, may be passionate about all sorts of issues, inflation, Gaza, you run the list.
Yep.
If you don't go and speak to them and explain why you want their vote and you need it to make a transformational result, you run the risk, not that they're going to go vote for Trump.
Yeah.
But by and large, that they just don't.
They don't turn out. No, I get it. All the posters, all the pundits are saying this race is too close to call 2 weeks from today. John Nichols, as you heard, has gone out on a limb and said he thinks when all is said and done, the results would not have been or will not be super close. More with the nation's John Nichols when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A teenage boy is in custody after 5 people were killed inside a Washington state home. Police responded to reports of a shooting yesterday in Falls City, east of Seattle, and found 3 children and 2 adults dead at the scene. New guidelines about strokes recommend doctors use Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs to reduce the risk of stroke in patients with diabetes and high risk of heart disease. A study last year found that the drug Wegovy could reduce the risk of stroke in some overweight patients by up to 20%. The city of Akron, Ohio has reached a financial settlement with the family of Jayland Walker. Walker's family filed a federal suit after the 25-year-old's 2022 shooting death at the hands of Akron police. Akron will pay the Walker family $4.85 million. And The Honorable Shine, the Hulu documentary about rapper-turned-politician Shine Barrow, is set to be released November 18th. Get VIN News on demand 24/7 at VINnews.com.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is warning you about phishing scams tricking you into revealing personal info. For even more protection, choose LifeLock, which alerts you to suspicious uses of your info and fixes the issues. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/cybersafety.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA regular season jumps off tonight. 2 games on the schedule. The New York Knicks at Boston and the Lakers at home against Minnesota. 7 p.m. tip-off on TNT for the Lakers-Minnesota game. The J.J. Redick era begins as the Lakers' new head coach. Will Redick take a chance and help make NBA history tonight? A lot of folks will be watching to see if Redick puts Bronny James in the game with his father. The NBA has never had a regular season game featuring a father and son on the floor at the same time. By the way, LeBron is beginning his 22nd NBA season. The Clippers played their season opener Wednesday night against Phoenix at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The Chargers failed to get into the end zone in a 17-15 loss at Arizona Monday night. Arizona's Chad Ryland kicked a game-winning field goal as time ran out. The Chargers dropped to 3-3 after a 2-0 start. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Point!
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Ugh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace!
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the nation's national affairs correspondent, John Nichols. John, I was talking to a colleague here moments ago during that break, and I was saying to her, I think she and I agree, I was saying to her that I don't think this is one of those elections at the national level where anybody's going to steal anything. Let me unpack that right quick. You've been around long enough to know how this actually works. There's a reason we use the term Reagan Democrats, because Ronald Reagan back in the day stole a bunch of Democrats. And then Bill Clinton shows up years later and steals those Democrats back. So there are certain presidential elections where people steal folk from the other side. I do not see this as an election where anybody's going to steal anything. If you win, you will win because you turned out your base. You're not going to steal nothing. That's my read as compared to, say, the Reagan era or the Clinton era. What's your read?
I think you're right. And I think the reason for that is because most of the folks have already been stolen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We had a real restructuring of American politics, which political scientists will catch up with eventually, during the Bush presidency, right? That Iraq war shook up a lot of coalitions and pushed people in a lot of different ways. And they didn't all come back to where they had been initially. Similar factors as well. Many of the things you've covered over the years, right? About, just the aspirations of particular communities as they rise to power and what they then realize when power is accomplished. Do they get what they need? And so people have moved to the places where I think they are largely at. That means that then on election day, if you're going to win, you've got to know where to go, what doors to go knock on. You know who is on your side or likely to be on your side, and who is not. One of the dangers in the final stages of a campaign is to spend so much time on trying to find a swing voter, right? That mythical swing voter. And, I don't know, man. I don't know if you watch The Daily Show and you watch Louis Black, the comedian, very, very good comedian. He had a piece the other day where he said, look, if you're undecided at this point, hey, if you really are a swing voter, you're trying to decide, between Trump and Kamala Harris, maybe you're just not up for this.
I love Louis Black. I love him. I want to talk about the issue of turnout here quickly.
Sure.
We were talking about, I was making the point, of course, that I believe this is one of those races where you got to turn out your base. The early indicators are pretty positive.
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Amazing. I like that word. It seems in early voting across the country that millions of people are engaged in this election. So again, it's going to be some people say a nail biter. Too close to call. That is not the way John Nichols sees it in the end. He believes that it won't be as close as people think it is going to be. But you got to be encouraged by the millions of people that are turning out in early voting all across the country.
Oh, it's amazing. And this is one of the reasons why I say that it may not be as close as people think. Because can we just maybe pause for a second and accept the possibility, not the certainty? And remember, I say this, in part of this show, we've been critical of some aspects of the strategy, right, of the Kamala Harris campaign. But is there a possibility that by and large, on some of the most basic elements of this political process, the Harris campaign knows what it's doing? I mean, let's put that in the mix, because what I am seeing out of Georgia is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
It's these numbers, and it's not just one day of a long line. It's day after day after day. Harris going in the right way, being in the churches, being in the right positions, the right places around the state, bringing in the right people, even down to the point of having Bill Clinton going out to smaller cities and it's like, and having Michelle Obama, I believe, coming in, and other folks. You know what I mean? They're just doing all this stuff. And I'm seeing it here in Wisconsin. Today is the beginning of early voting. And, traditionally, the beginning of early voting, everybody would say, oh, it's start of early voting. Good luck with that, right?
Yeah.
Now, as I talk to you, I'm in the car, right? And I am driving to the largest hall in Madison, the Dane County, it's the County Coliseum. It's called the Alliant Energy Center because some corporation bought the name.
Yep.
And it's a big, giant space, right? It's where the rock bands play when they come to town. Barack Obama is going to be there at 1:30 to launch early voting. Think about that. This is strategic. You are putting some of your strongest advocates, your candidates, other people in the right place to make sure that, and that's why, I said earlier to you, when we were talking about this idea of, whether this thing is going to break one way or the other, whether it's going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My sense is, in covering this campaign pretty closely, having, as you have, interviewed the vice president a number of times, seeing the people around her, seeing a lot of different factors, my sense is that these people may well know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
No, I'd only add to that. I've said this a few weeks ago, I think. I'd only add to that while they're not perfect, and they certainly have made some mistakes in this campaign, she does have some of the old Obama cohort. And I've said more times than I can count, I have never seen a campaign for president run as well as the Obama campaign was run. I mean, they did an absolutely masterful job running that Obama campaign, which does not mean I agree with everything they said or did, but they ran a masterful campaign. And so some of those Obama people are inside the Harris camp now helping her to run this campaign. So to your point that they know what they're doing, I give them credit for that. I just don't think the Liz Cheney decision is a good one. I don't think she's a surrogate for Nikki Haley, but I think by and large, it's hard to argue, particularly and especially given the short runway she's had, John. It is hard to argue that she has not run a pretty brilliant campaign.
It's been a brilliant campaign. Look, we could spend a whole show talking about the things we'd like to see done differently, right? Because this is a late-stage candidacy, right? It didn't come over after, 2 years of plotting and planning and everything, right? And so as a result, are you going to get everything perfect? No. But here's the critical element of it, or at least the thing that I think matters. In a weird way, the late-stage character of the thing is a benefit. And here's why. Everybody recognized it was all hands on deck, emergency, right?
Yeah.
Joe Biden didn't make it work in a debate. There's no question of that.
Yep.
And everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to switch over. So what do you do in that point, right? If you've got to, kind of restructure the whole thing, you go to your best and your brightest at every level, right? So you bring the Obama people in. You keep the Biden people who are already plotting a campaign, and by the way, they did do some smart things to get this thing going.
No question.
And then you go back to Bill Clinton. You say, you know what, Bill Clinton, you're actually pretty good at working your way around North Carolina and Georgia, right? You know how to talk to folks, and then you do something else that's really important. And I've seen a lot of this with the Harris campaign. They have really empowered a lot of young, enthusiastic, passionate people to go out and work it. And they have said to a lot of these folks, hey, you may know better than we do how to pull this thing together. And so there's been creativity, right? Again, not always perfect.
Yeah.
But, we could go on, but you get my point.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So the reason I say that's so important to understand, so important to have in the mix, is because I think that it is possible that when all is said and done, this mobilization stuff, which media doesn't cover very well, may be more of a factor, more important if it's done right at the end. It may be more of a factor than a stand on a particular issue, or whether Trump went to a McDonald's.
I'm gonna talk later in today's program, as I mentioned to Representative Gabe Amo, about the all hands on deck effort to get Hakeem Jeffries as the first African American Speaker of the House, if Democrats can take over that chamber. But you mentioned earlier the Senate, and you mentioned Texas in particular. I can't even hide. I'm just gonna be honest and transparent. I can't hide my joy or my glee at the thought that Ted Cruz might get bumped off. I would love nothing more after all the nonsense that Ted Cruz has said and done to see him lose this race in Texas. I'm just going to be honest about it. That's how I feel. Can't hide that. But at the end of the day, it's Texas, John. I want to talk about that. I recognize it's still Texas. But I want to talk about a couple Senate things, Senate races that might make a difference in whether or not, if Kamala Harris should win, that she would have both chambers of Congress to work with more easily. If Democrats controlled both houses, that'd make her job a lot easier. We'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time homebuyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
If you're facing an unexpected financial emergency, you need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. Simply fill out the form and get an answer in 2 minutes. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Trust the name you know. WeFixMoney.com. For emergency cash up to $3,000, type WeFixMoney.com directly in your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on it every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on it. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on it. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
So, John Nichols, you know this quite well. You've been around a long time. I'm always concerned about the underpolling. You talked about the polls earlier. The polls are one thing, but my mind is always on, and my eyes stay on the underpolling. And if you're underpolling women, that might work well for Kamala Harris. But if you are underpolling a bunch of young white boys, that might work to Donald Trump's favor. So I'm not sure who's being underpolled right about now.
Well, the pollsters don't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And they're the first ones to admit it. Smart, honest pollsters will tell you that.
Yeah.
Why would they not know what they're doing? Well, that's not very hard to figure out, okay? Let's put a couple pieces together here. They blew it in 2016 on a whole bunch of fronts.
Yep.
They didn't figure out Trump. In 2020, they got it right on the top line. They said Biden's going to win this thing, but they They said he was going to do way better than he actually did in some of the battleground states. In 2022 and 2018 as well, these off-year elections, they were way under polled. And I think that was a lot about progressive constituencies, right? And communities of color, others that just were underpolled. And so they've blown a lot of elections, and they keep, and it's not an exact science, right? They keep adjusting and twisting and turning. So now you're getting polls from people that are in, because we just described all that stuff, a certain amount of crisis, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how to do this? And the reason I bring that up, or the reason I say that, is that you're going to see polls all over the place. I am not a conspiracy theorist, right? That's not my trip. I tell you, quite seriously, that I think there are groups that put polls out there with an effort to try and tip the balance, right? To try and make you think, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so when you put that all in the mix, here's what I say. I read polls every morning. I take them all in.
Sure.
But then I put them aside and I look at the practical realities of what's going on. So to me, a poll out of Georgia means less than the picture of that line of people waiting 3 or 4 hours to vote.
Yep.
A poll out of Wisconsin means less to me then I'm out of the car walking, brother.
Yeah, I hear you.
Appreciate you being with me.
No.
I am walking to this Barack Obama rally, and I am seeing thousands of people.
Yeah.
So that matters more to me than a poll. And the last thing is that what we started talking about, that Cheney, I think the error of spending too much time with Liz Cheney, stuff like that, that also matters.
Yeah.
I look at that stuff first and foremost.
I've got a few minutes left here with John Nichols. We'll let him walk a little faster as we come forward, and we'll wrap this conversation. I didn't know it was going to happen this way, but John Nichols is my man on the street today. How cool is it to be talking to somebody in Wisconsin, walking in real time inside of arena where Barack Obama is about to set it off in a swing state, no less, like Wisconsin. So pleased to have John Nichols on for a few more minutes when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
My name is Anton Moore. Around here, we have hardworking people that just need a break. Whether it's investing in small businesses or making housing affordable, Vice President Harris gets it.
Kamala Harris is making sure black men have the tools to build generational wealth. She'll put a policy in place that gives 1 million forgivable loans to help entrepreneurs, including black entrepreneurs, start their own businesses. She also plans to give $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homeowners and crack down on racial bias in home appraisals. Harris's plan will help black men own more assets so we can build long-term wealth.
This is what an investment in my community looks like. We're trying to build generational wealth. No get-rich-quick schemes, no scams, no one-time check, none of that. Vice President Harris got our back. I'll be there on November 5th. Will you be there?
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
We are 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, so just a few minutes left here with John Nichols, the nation's national affairs correspondent, as he makes his way inside of this theater in Wisconsin, this arena, I should say, not a theater, this arena in Wisconsin where Barack Obama will be appearing shortly to turn up the volume and turn up the heat in Wisconsin. Before I go back to Texas right quick, John, tell me, given that you are in the swing state, you live there, swing state of Wisconsin, what do you expect out of Wisconsin right quick?
I think Harris wins it, although it's going to be tough. It's she's going to have to keep working it to the end. I think Tammy Baldwin's running for re-election, just had a really good break with a great debate the other day.
Yeah.
She probably keeps her Senate seat. And so I think Wisconsin's looking pretty good, but, not by a landslide.
Yeah. Let me go down to Texas right quick. My time is getting tight, about 2 minutes left. Down to Texas. What do you really think the chances are that Ted Cruz gets bumped off?
I think they're real. And I think this is a choice that is made, not something you just pontificate about, right? What Democrats have to recognize is that there may be some states where they cannot win. Texas isn't one of them. Texas is a state where they could pull it off. In the last 72 hours, all of the major daily newspapers in Texas have endorsed Colin Allred. Some of them with front-page editorials in their editorial sections. I mean, major play. There's something real happening here, and he obliterated Ted Cruz in that debate last week. And so what Democrats have to do, and they make this mistake quite often, they got to avoid a mistake, and that is they got to recognize they got a candidate who can win. And so energy needs to move to Texas. Resources need to go there. There might even be a case, and I know this will sound crazy to some folks, might even be a case for Kamala Harris that she's flying across the country to make a stop in, Dallas, Fort Worth, some other place, to boost it. Maybe she can't win it, but maybe she can help a Senate candidate win.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. If Kamala Harris can pull this off, will she have Hakeem Jeffries as the first African-American Speaker of the House? Wouldn't that be historic? A black president and a black speaker? Lord have mercy. And then the Senate could also be in play. So we shall see how this all works out. Since John is in Wisconsin, and I'm so honored to be heard on WNOV in Milwaukee, I want to shout them out right quick. I love the station. Love being heard in Milwaukee in this swing state of Wisconsin on WNOV 860. John, have a great event with Barack Obama. Tell him we said hello. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
I will give him the word.
All right.
And thanks for having me on. It is always exciting, especially at election time, to be talking with you.
Man, I love you being my man on the street today in Wisconsin. So thank you, John. I appreciate it. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
The city of Akron, Ohio has reached a financial settlement with the family of Jalen Walker. Walker's family